Hey everyone, this is Alchemixt here, and I will be doing a video series on Warrior Control. This is one of my favorite decks, and it's gotten quite popular on the ladder recently. I was going to have my webcam on for this intro video, but I was having some audio sync issues, so I just decided I'm just going to forego the webcam for this series, but hopefully I'll get that all sorted out by the time I do another video. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a little intro video before I got into my matchups. If you want to know more specifically about each of my card choices, the role in the deck, and maybe some general strategy tips, things like that, then check out the written guide that I provided along with this series. Also, if you want to know a little bit more about myself, my Hearthstone achievements, then that is also in the written part. So before we get into some matchups here, this is the deck. There's nothing too different about it. It's pretty much your standard warrior control deck. Some recent things that I did were I took out a big game hunter for a spellbreaker. I took out faceless manipulator for Harrison Jones. I mean, if shamans are going to be playing double Doomhammer, hunters are everywhere, rogues are everywhere, and there's other warriors popping up. It's pretty much never been a better time to play Harrison Jones. Other than that, I got your full suite of typical legendaries here. Not everyone plays Cairn, but I like him in the mirror match, and he's always like a generally solid threat. So here's the deck list, and now I want to briefly cover each of the matchups here. So we have Warrior Control. Obviously, this is going to be about a 50% matchup. You can do a few things to make it slightly in your favor. You can play something like Faceless Manipulator. You can play Big Game Hunter. You can cut out a little bit of your early game, maybe like cut like a Ghoul and a Cruel Taskmaster, add in some more threats into your deck. But in general, like, it's just going to be a pretty even matchup. There's a lot of different theories on how to play the matchup, and they're not they might not necessarily be better or worse. They're just different styles. Personally, myself, I like to be a little more aggressive when I play the mirror match. I like to be the one playing the threats and them having to have the answer. I want to be the one setting up for the Groundage Hellscream kill. I know some people like to sit back more, play it a little more safe, really save their removal, go to fatigue, but I've had a lot of success in the Warrior Mirror, and it's because I try to be more aggressive. Shaman, generally considered a counter to Warrior, but I think that's kind of not true. It's definitely, it might be favored against Warrior, but I definitely wouldn't consider it a counter. It's not that much different than 50% matchup in my opinion. If you really want to do well against a Shaman, you can add Baron Geddon and Brawl to your deck, and it goes maybe even into your favor. I'm not sure. You also have Harrison Jones for the Doomhammer. So the thing is, think of it this way: Shaman have 2 Hex, right? And you have like 3 to 5 legendaries that need to be answered. Okay, so not only do they have to have their Hex or their removal on time when you play your legendaries, they then have to kill you before you draw into your other legendaries that they will not have an answer for. So I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I do have a video of me playing against a Shaman. I get a little lucky, but it's really fun to watch, so just go check that out. Rogue, you don't really see many aggressive rogues or tempo rogues anymore. It's pretty much all miracle variants. You have Malagos Rogue, Violet Teacher's Rogue, Arcane Golem Shadow Step Rogue. It used to be a pretty bad matchup for Warrior, but I think it's more manageable now. Harrison Jones and Lotheb go a long way in really helping out the matchup. Sludge Belcher can be a nuisance for the Rogue. Probably the biggest deal, though, is the Leroy Jenkins nerf. It used to be before, you'd be at like 26 health, and you'd be like afraid of dying. You know, like you'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't play my Alex Straza because I want to armor up here because I might die. But now it's not like that. Like, a lot of the rogues need kind of like a board presence, and they need to get damage in the legitimate way before they can start going crazy with cold bloods and things like that. So you just gotta keep the board clear, keep your armor up, and I find that it's most successful to be really aggressive. You know, like Cruel Taskmaster, your own minions, get in there for extra damage. If you have multiple weapons, hell, just equip a weapon and start going to their face. If you have a Grom in your hand, just throw on a Deathbite, hit them in the face a couple times, and go for a turn 8 kill. But obviously, Gadgetzan Auctioneer plus Conceal is still a really big problem for Warrior. If you don't have an immediate Lotheb or a Lucky Brawl, then you're still probably going to lose if they get it on like turn 6 or something like that. Next up is Paladin. Paladin aggro is probably favored for Warrior unless they get a really sick Divine Favor. But I don't really see much Paladin aggro, so I'm not really speaking from experience, mainly just theory. Paladin Control is a pretty hard matchup for Warrior. It's not unbeatable, but it's definitely one of the harder ones. Basically, you're not going to win the grindy late game unless you play something like Deathwing and Ysera or something like that. You usually win by getting some sort of board presence before they quality consecrate you, soften them up with your minis, and sneak in a Grommash later in the game. If you want to make your deck better against Paladin, you kind of take the same things I said about Warrior Control. Maybe shave off some of your early game, throw in some extra threats. Faceless is really good against Paladin. I would definitely keep a Silence in the deck. And definitely Black Knight. Black Knight's really good, especially if Paladin plays like Sunwalker, and you Black Knight a Sunwalker, that's really, really good. Hunter, everyone's favorite deck to play against right now. It's everywhere on the ladder. It's really good still, even after all the nerfs that it gets. And Warrior does really, really good against Hunter, in my opinion. The way Hunter can be a Warrior is if they have like double Savannah High Main early on, or if they get an Eaglehorn Bow and you never draw Harrison Jones and they just chain into a bunch of traps. But without that, just take a look at the Warrior deck list. You have Unstable Ghoul, Armorsmith, Acolyte of Pain, Fiery War Axe, Death's Bite, Sludge Belchers. Like a lot of the Hunter these days play like Leper Gnomes, Undertakers, Web Spinners, Loot Hoarders, all these like really early fast minions, and Warrior just brick walls them, basically. You'll see in the video that I have, the Hunter has pretty much one of the best starts you could possibly ask for, and it still just isn't enough. So if you want to beat up on Hunters, then definitely play Warrior. If you want to go even the extra mile, you can throw in some Zombie Chows and Ascension Shieldmaster, or I even seen recently Show played a Hogger, but I don't know if I'm sold on that yet. Druid, generally a pretty bad matchup. It depends on the version. There's lots of versions of Druid. The token style Druids with Power of the Wild and like Shades and Axe Ramus double Force Nature combo, those are really hard to beat. You're probably just not going to beat those decks very often. However, the slower like Wild Growth ramped versions with Ancient of War, things like that, I think Warrior has a really nice even matchup against that. Like, you have a lot of things going for you. If they play 7 mana for Ancient of War, you pay 1 mana to execute it. They generally don't have a lot of pressure on you, so you can stack up a bunch of armor, and your shield stands can always take care of something big. You don't really have to worry about dying out of nowhere, so you can try and set up a nice Alex Straws and a Grommash play. Gorehowl is pretty nice against Druid, but then you might run into Harrison Jones from the other decks, and that's another card that can really help out the Paladin and Warrior mirror matchup, and Shaman. But again, if you are going to go the Gorehowl route, then try and bait out Harrison Jones with a Deathbite or Fiery War Axe before you just run your Gorehowl out there. Because if you pay 7 mana and they Harrison Jones, you pretty much just lost the game. Warlock, as a little side note, this was my second Golden Hero. I just got it a couple days ago, so I'm pretty happy about that. My first Golden Hero was Warrior. But Zoo used to be really good against Warrior, but now I'd say Warrior is definitely favored. It's kind of funny because Nox Ramus gave Zoo a lot of good cards, but the thing is, like, Haunted Creeper and Nerubian Egg don't really add that much pressure against a Warrior, and Warriors have Unstable Ghoul, Sludge Belcher, and Deathbite. So all those cards just really do work against Zoo. And I mean, Zoo is one of those decks, obviously, that if they draw, like, they can have a draw that beats anything, regardless of how good or bad the matchup is. If they go like turn 5 Doomguard, discard their hand, and then draw another Doomguard, or have like Nerubian Eggs, Void Terror shenanigans, like you could always lose to Zoo. But I think if they don't get their nut draw, then Warrior should win almost all the time. I don't have a video against Zoo, because if you want to play against Zoo, just go on the ladder. Everyone's sick of Zoo. Everyone can see Zoo. I do, however, for my Warlock, I have a matchup against Handlock. And I make some mistakes in the game, and it might not be the most informative video of my series, but it's definitely, I'd say it's one of the most fun to watch. So definitely look forward to that. As far as the matchup goes, I'd say it's about 50-50, but it's kind of on the Warrior to have all the right cards. Like, if a Warrior has Execute and Shield Slam for the Twilight Drakes and Mountain Giants, then you can basically just set up for a Grommash Hellscream kill. But the thing is, if you don't have the immediate removal, then you might just get overrun by a Mountain Giant. You just literally won't be able to win the game from there. Another kind of neat little trick you can use to beat a Warlock is, let's say they're at 14 health, you have a Deathbite, you just hit them in the face, put them to 10. Now their Molten Giants cost 0, you bait them into playing both their Molten Giants and maybe a Taunter, or maybe even something else after that, and then you brawl them. But obviously only do that if you have a brawl or you have like double execute or something. You never want to put them into Molten Giant range unless you know you can deal with Molten Giants. The only other time where you want to put them into Molten Giant range is if you're really desperate and you just kind of need to pray that they don't have it. But if you're in that situation, then it's not looking too good for you already. So Mage is next. There's a lot of different types of Mage. There's Freeze Mage with Giants, Freeze Mage without Giants, Mid-Range Mage, Secret Mage, Rush Mage. I don't really see too many mages on the ladder right now, at least around my current rank. But Warrior is pretty much auto win versus Freeze Mage. Like, you just press your hero power every turn, play a shield block, and they literally just cannot kill you. Rush Mage isn't too bad as long as you get a shield block in there somewhere. Maybe fire your War Axe or some Armor Smiths going. And the Secret Mage is a little harder though, like with Kirin Tor's duplicates Mirror Entities. That deck can, like if they ever duplicate like a Water Elemental or a Sludge Belcher, it can be really annoying. But overall, I have no problem playing against any of the Mage decks with Warrior. And which brings us to our last deck, Priest. I think Warrior has a very good matchup against Priest. Against Priest Control, they're just really slow. They give you all the time in the world to set up a Grommash Hellscream kill. Ysera does a lot of work against them. Really, the only way they're going to win is if they Thought Steal all of your legendaries and then use them to kill you. If you play Faceless Manipulator, a cool way to win is like play Grommash, attack them, and then they mind control Grommash, and then you Faceless it and kill them. Or like even if you just play like Ysera and then mind control that, like then you can just like Faceless and then execute the Ysera. Something along those lines. Basically, you just kind of need to trick them into playing a bad mind control. But other than that, like a Gorehal is really good against Priest Control also. But again, be careful of weapon removal. The Death Rattle version of Priest is fine too. I mean, sometimes they can snowball the game and overrun you if you don't have the right early game. But like all you need is a Fiery War Axe, and I don't think you can lose the matchup. I was playing against the Death Rattle Priest the other day, and he had a Northshire Cleric Circle of Healing combo. He drew like 6 cards off it, and he had like 9 or 10 cards in his hand, and I had 4 and a Sludge Belcher on the field, and he literally just could not kill me, even with all those extra cards. So I'm a firm believer in Warrior crushes Priest, but some people might say otherwise. So yeah, there's the quick little matchup guide that I have for you. Again, check out the written portion if you want to read some more information about myself or more specifics of the deck. And yeah, so following this video, I'm going to have some matchup videos where I try to choose matchups that were either entertaining or informative, but ideally they're both entertaining and informative. So let me know what you think, leave me any feedback, ask me any questions, and I will do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching.